Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. This is Level Design Lobby, and without further ado, we're going to jump into it with a guest of mine, an old friend and arch nemesis, Laura. So thank you, Laura, and welcome to the show, bud. How are you doing?
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's all good. Good to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
No problem, mate. A pleasure to have you here indeed. And you got an interesting journey and stories, I think, for us, and I think that's the exciting point, man, to have you here and share that with us all.
I don't know if it's interesting, but yeah, probably quite unique. So should I just say where I've been? And
Yeah, for sure. Tell us a bit about who you are so the audience, gets a better understanding of your unique story then.
Okay, cool. So I'm a 3D artist, and I'd say I'm a tech artist as well. So I started off with an internship in India with Ubisoft, and then I came over to Newcastle with Ubisoft again, and I worked with Max for some time on The Division. And then after that, I went to the small team which were responsible for Grow Home and Grow Up. I worked with them for a while, and recently I've just gone indie, and I've started my own company. It's called High Tea Frog, and we're making a game called CakeBash, which is a 4-player party game where you fight to be the tastiest cake, and that's the marketing spiel.
Well, you've nailed that one off the bat there,
Yes.
mate,
No need for a plug at the end.
You're only allowed to have one plug in the show, and
man.
you timed it perfectly for this one. So I guess then, how did you get into it all then? Because like you said, you got started and everything with Ubisoft, but how did that all come about then, mate?
Well, like my journey, like why I got into games.
Yeah.
I think it started quite young, to be honest. So I think it was probably Ocarina of Time that made me think the games were cool. So I remember watching young Link's idle animation, and he's like kind of just checking his shield and like organizing his tunic, that kind of thing. I thought someone made that, like someone took the time to put that small animation in that people might not even see, and it started to really interest me in how games were made. So originally I wanted to be an animator for Nintendo. I haven't got there yet.
Still on our way.
Yeah, still working on it. But I think things just changed. Like I've recently got into animation, but until then I've just been doing 3D. I kind of found a love for making characters and environments and stuff, just giving things a bit of emotion, making things so that people can relate. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's really cool. And I guess then, because you've worked on a number of titles from that on, you worked on the Crew, Division, and now your own project. Like, what's it been like to kind of switch between styles, I guess, and all that for you?
I think it's the best. I think, like, if I was just doing one thing all the time, I probably wouldn't still be in this industry, if I'm honest. Because I've got a friend who just made Warhammer swords for like 6 months. And I think I'd lose my mind. I think she actually carried on doing that for a couple of years after that as well. So I think it's good to try and keep things fresh. Like, obviously, I learned how to do realistic stuff first, and then went into stylized stuff. And now I'm kind of doing a mixture of both. I feel like my work on The Division has kind of at least influenced a little bit the art direction of the game I'm working on now.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of stylized, kind of drawn to life characters, but in a sort of realistic world, which is cool.
No, I think it looks great, by the way. I think it looks like great fun, and a lot of people I've seen online have been saying great things about it as well.
You. That's really kind.
No, I think it's looking great. Honestly, I think it looks great fun as well, and that's the cool thing about it.
Getting there.
So, I mean, then, I guess, for people who are wondering, and I know there's a lot of developers and, sometimes students here who listen to the show who want to go indie as well, And how has that transition been for you then?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Like, obviously, when you work in a big team, you're kind of doing one small thing most of the time. Like, I was quite lucky on the division that I got to do some bigger things, like make the churches, for instance. But a lot of people just make templates or just make interiors or one quite specific thing. So obviously now I have much more responsibility in what I'm doing. It's not just game development either that I have to think of now. Like, I have to do accounting, I have to do producer stuff, like scrums and meetings and Jira. There's just so much to do. I think that's the biggest shock for me, is just how little time I spend making the game compared to how much like business stuff there is to do. I think it's different if you go to a company that, an indie company with a team rather than your own indie company. I think there's a lot of different pressures. It's definitely different. I don't know if I'd recommend it to be your first thing to do, because it's definitely good to get to, I guess, upgrade your skills and learn from other people in a team environment before you go indie and go smaller.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. I think the fastest way to learn, because you can learn obviously by yourself, but the fastest way to learn is with a team.
Definitely.
I think.
Definitely, yeah. Even at university, I think most of the things I learned was from my peers rather than my teachers. I think it's definitely the same in games. Like, I learned more than I did in my whole 3 years at uni in my first year of employment with UB.
Yeah, I mean, so what was it like, I guess, for you, we'll go back now, with your university? How did you find the course, and what was it, do you think, that helped you stand out to be able to get a job after uni?
I don't know. I think I was quite lucky to get the internship because it was the first year that my university organised it. And a lot of people were nervous about going to India because it was kind of uncharted and they didn't know what to expect. But I just thought, oh, come on, why not? I'll give it a try. And
exactly.
I just took the risk and just decided to go to another country for a while. I think my work wasn't actually that good coming out of university, if I'm honest about it.
Okay.
I think I've got better over the years. I'm still not perfect by a long shot, but I feel like I can do enough to make the game. But at the beginning, I don't think it was my art that made me stand out. It's just being willing to try new things, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Is always be learning. I think that's a big thing.
Definitely.
For it. And
still am now.
Man, when do you stop? That's what I always think. When I first started, I was like, oh man, you'll get to game directing, you'll know everything, and then you kind of just witness everything. Like, wow, there isn't an end to the learning process at all.
I don't think I'll ever stop learning. I think I'm just going to be a student forever.
Yeah, and I think it's also trying to keep that mindset, because you can see that sometimes egos take place and they stop you from that. So it's important to make sure that you don't, have that one. I think that's a good tidbit for people.
Yeah, definitely. I think I mentioned it recently actually about even if you think you know how to do something, watching beginner tutorials again, you might actually learn something new. Like, even if you feel like you're an expert, say at unwrapping, like, you can watch something on YouTube of someone that just does it a completely different way, and it might just change completely the way you think.
Yeah.
So I recommend doing that, and just trying to keep on top of the tech changes, which is obviously quite difficult because it changes every year. But it's definitely worth it.
No, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. And what was India like then?
India? Very colourful. The food was great. Made some good friends out there. Still got some friends from there. They know how to party.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some of the best parties I've ever been to out there.
Oh, wow.
The dev scene is interesting because they don't really have a good, well, I don't know if it's changed since then. It's been like 6 years now, but when I was there, they didn't really have game education. So a lot of the people working there kind of learned on the job. So it's quite a different atmosphere to somewhere like Reflections, where you get people straight out of uni that have done that specific thing.
Yeah.
But it's great. I'd go back.
That's awesome. I've never been to India, so I don't know anything about it. So it's really cool to to hear that.
Yeah,
You know?
it's great. I recommend it just for even just a short break. It's really different.
Yeah, I can imagine the culture just being so different than what we're used to.
Yeah, definitely.
You know. Okay, well then we'll move forward again in time. And you were saying like you do things like accounting and Scrum management now. Is there anything that caught you off guard when you started going into indie that you hadn't thought or realized that it was going to play a big role when starting your own studio and company?
Yeah, there was plenty of things. I mean, yeah, I should have really kept note of it because it's quite interesting. I think when it was fresh in my mind, but things that I've forgotten a lot since then. I think having to do contract work was a big thing because I assumed that we would make a prototype and it would get snapped up right away by publishers, and then we'd be plain sailing from there. We'd have loads of money and everything would be fine, and that's not what happened at all.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing a lot of work for hire stuff, and I had to learn how to not undervalue myself.
I can imagine that's a tough one there, especially with competition in terms of when you're doing work for hire.
Yeah, there's a lot of people trying to undercut with really cheap, crappy art. And you have to kind of make yourself stand out. And even with my past on the Division and stuff, it definitely helped. But it was still difficult to get some of these bigger contracts and to ask for kind of a contract fee that I thought, at first I thought it was huge, like way too much for the work. But it's not, because there's not many people out there that have gone from AAA to freelance or indie.
Yeah.
But it's just trying to get the pricing right, because if you go too high, you put people off right away. And if you go too low, there's no point doing the contract at all.
Yeah.
So that was completely new. Like, I didn't have any experience with that at all. And I wasn't expecting that I'd have to do it, but we did. And it was about 1.5 years that we did that.
Wow. So is there any tips on how you found your price range? Because I think, like you said, that's one of the toughest things to get sometimes.
Yeah, there was a couple of people that came up with a mathematical formula of how to work out your rates.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but to me, I think it's not. Maybe it works for some people, but it didn't really work for me. I think I had to just look around what other people were doing for their day rate, work out their experience that they had, and then just come up with something that worked for me.
Okay.
It took a while. I think I underpriced myself for a while. I think I was on $30 a day. No, an hour. Sorry, not a day. That'd be crazy.
I was going to say, you really underpriced yourself.
Yeah, I think it started at $30 an hour, but it's unsustainable. So I've raised it up quite a bit since then, which is good. But it took a while of trying to break through the imposter syndrome,
Oh, that thing never goes away as well.
No, it doesn't matter how long you're in the industry for.
No. Yeah, and I can imagine that creeping in more because it's not so much you're trying to be part of a company, it's now that's solely you, that's your face and everything attached to it. So I can imagine that was a perfect time for it to strike, really.
Yeah, it struck pretty hard. I think it's just knowing that if you fail, it's totally on you this time. I can't blame other people anymore.
Yeah.
It's on me.
like you did with me every day.
Oh yeah, of course. There's a pairs-free zone.
No, that's how I try to live my life as well.
Oh.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, I think, and for people who do not know what imposter syndrome is, because we just talked about it just there, like you mentioned that it's where you don't feel that you're good enough or your work is good enough despite you having the skills, the talent, and also the experience, and just feeling inadequate, right, compared to everything else that you see.
Yeah.
And that is a common thing that is in this industry. The amount of people I've spoken to who've worked on massive games, successful games, or anything, just have it. It's such a norm, sadly.
It is, yeah. I think I've not even met one person that hasn't suffered from it.
Yeah.
I think the industry kind of thrives on it in a way, especially with some places offer really low wages because they just think, they kind of play off the fact that you feel like you're not good enough.
Yeah, I think that's also something that should be taught for developers as well, is understanding your worth, whether it be for working for a company or, as you're saying, freelance. I think that's the tough thing, and I think you don't realize it until you're a little bit older or been in the industry. But yeah, that's just a part of it. So if there are people trying to break in, just still understand your worth, because you are worth,
believe in yourself.
And on that's where I'm gonna play the Rocky theme and just end the podcast.
Exactly.
Just like
mic drop.
No.
Love games? Love game design? We do too. So why not help us here at Level Design Lobby spread the word? With Patreon, from as little as $1 per month, you can do just that. And new for 2019, we have more reward tiers and even more awesome perks on offer, such as access to our community Discord, level design weekends, exclusive talks by professional designers, one-on-one sessions, and much more. Sound interesting? Then head on over to patreon.com/level design lobby for more information and to pledge your support today. As always, we'd like to say a massive thank you to all the game gurus who've backed us so far. It's thanks to your generous support that we can continue to grow, pursue new opportunities, and bring you new, awesome, and exciting content. So thank you. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Oh, let's move on to your game then. How is it that you guys came up with this idea? Because it looks like a great fun, becoming the perfect cake. And I saw the pigeons coming in, by the way, which I loved.
Oh, cool,
and,
thanks.
So like, how did you guys come up with this, like, just this really cool, kooky idea?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we made a few prototypes before. I mentioned that when we first started, we made a prototype and thought it would get picked up right away. Mm-hmm. We worked on that for a few months. We didn't really see it going anywhere from there, so we decided to make some short prototypes, taking 2 weeks for each one.
Oh, wow.
And see if we can come up with something with the spark, something that makes us say, this is fun, we want to work on this more. Mm-hmm. So first we made like a herding game where you play as a sheepdog and you have to try and get sheep into like the paddock. And then there was a shoot 'em up game set in space but actually underwater, which was quite fun to make, but again didn't really go anywhere. And then just in the morning meeting, Tommy, who's our animator, just said, how about a game where you're a donut and you punch each other? I went, yeah, that sounds awesome. Why are we not making that right now? So we spent a week on it, and already by the end of the week we were laughing at it, because we had the cakes with their stupid long arms and their stupid faces, and it already had that spark, I think, that we were looking for. And we just, because we were already having fun making it, we thought we could probably work on this for longer, and it just evolved from there.
So you're talking about finding that spark. How do you think you know when you found it? I know you can't always quantify this answer, but was there anything you were looking for in particular, or just something that you said you heard the idea and for some reason it just clicked with you? Yeah,
it's interesting. I think it's in today's age, I think people want to be able to understand a game's concept really easily. Like, that goose game from House.
Was that the angry goose where you chase around the farmer?
Exactly. That's that's everything we've seen of that game, but people remember it because it's a little chunk of something really funny.
Yeah.
It's like you're a goose and you're a bit of a horrible goose. I don't know if I'm allowed to say rude words on here.
No, you can swear, mate. You can swear.
I won't. No, because my mum might listen to this and she will complain.
We're sorry. I won't swear either, just to make sure. That's when
it's fine.
Your mother.
But what I was going to say was that the whole tagline of the game is you're a goose, but you're an asshole.
Yeah.
And it really works because you don't have to really say anything else about it. You already have people interested in the game.
Yeah.
And we kind of wanted a similar tagline, like you're a cake and you punch each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it works, especially for like a new indie game from an unproven team. You kind of want to get that hook right away.
For sure. I think also the cool thing is like the aesthetics you guys have is just so lovable.
Oh, thanks.
Even when they look like bad cakes. See, I had to stop myself then from saying stuff.
Bad cakes.
You know, those naughty cakes.
Naughty.
That clip's going to be taken and used out of context really badly.
It is, isn't it?
I had to stop myself the other day when I was recording. I was like, But yeah, when you're being like a naughty cake, they're still lovable, and I thought that was brilliant. Like, there's so much charm to them.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Yeah.
You know, enjoy that. So yeah, how did you balance that? I mean, how do you guys come up with that aesthetics? Like you said, you've got this kind of realistic background, but these more stylized, kooky, quirky cakes.
Yeah, so it was kind of inspired by the the subreddit called Real Life Doodles.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know it? So they kind of just draw eyes and arms and stuff onto inanimate objects. So yeah, that was the big inspiration for the art direction. I tried to just think of something that I thought was funny and that I hadn't seen before. So in a game, at least.
That is ace. That now that you mention it, I'm like, how did I not see that? You know, that is brilliant.
Yeah, there's some really good GIFs on there.
Oh, so many good ones. I love the sugar going into the tea.
Oh yeah, like dissolving.
Its eyes just widen up.
Oh, poor thing.
No, and then not only that, but like, how do you design the mechanics about it? Because it's for those who don't know, it seems to be, and correct me if I am wrong, a 4-player kind of deathmatch or co-op deathmatch. You know, how did you guys? You know, because I said you got the pigeons coming across. How did you guys come up with quirky mechanics for it?
Yeah, so it started off just being like four against, well, all against all kind of beat 'em up thing. It started off being you had to kind of stand under this icing thing, and it would sometimes change to oil.
Oh, okay.
So you could like change it with a button, and it would change between them. But we found out that most of the time we were just standing under it, and it was really boring.
Oh, okay.
So we added more stuff, like we added map hazards and the sweets that you have to collect to stick on yourself. But then obviously you can punch each other and knock the sweets away. So right up until the end, it's quite, anyone can win or anyone can lose. So that was the first game mode we made. And the design has changed quite a lot since then. We've just been adding stuff and improving stuff. But we're thinking the final scope will be 5 game modes similar to the one with the sweets, and then a whole bunch of mini games as well.
Awesome.
And we're going to have a tournament kind of style, well, not tournament, like kind of like a set list of maps with a kind of story over it, like kind of Mario Party board, but not the board. It would be to be the tastiest would be the goal.
That's awesome.
But really the main way we work is just iterating again and again and getting people to play the game. We usually go to local free events where we can just try it out on the unsuspecting public.
What's that like then? Because that's obviously a different experience compared to, working on a AAA game where you can, because as devs sometimes you're not actually allowed to interact with the players. Because obviously it needs to be recorded, and they don't want to have interactions for valid reasons. When I say this, it's not me criticizing, because there is method to that. But for you, like I said, you're going to these events and you're talking with the people right off the bat. What has been like that experience been for you? Yeah,
it's been really different. So we haven't really had anyone say that the game sucks, which is good. But I think it's really different, obviously, if you're at an event, because no one's going to be mean to you to your face. I think it's we have got some really useful feedback, but sometimes I wish that people would just be honest with us and just say, I don't like this one's a bit boring, or just be really blunt, because I feel like us being there changes people's feedback quite considerably. But yeah, it's good. It's really good to see people having a laugh, because that's the main reason why we go. We've seen parents play with their kids, and there was one event we went to and it had been going on for a week, and we arrived at the weekend, and all the other devs there said it was quiet before you arrived, and now it's like chaos. But it's good. Like we love that. We love setting people off.
No, that's great though. And I guess because you said you've got an art style and you've seen that anyone can love, and you've got parents and kids playing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how do you balance that in terms of, did you do any market research for this, or on how to find your audience?
Not really. We didn't really think about who it was going to be for. Originally, we thought it would be good for families because it's that kind of cartoon violence. It's not too much, like, you don't kill anything, which is quite important to me personally. But I'm done. I've done my time on The Division. I don't want to kill anything anymore. But yeah, I think originally it was for families, and then we took it to another event which was for students.
Okay.
And it was just a local event called Gamebridge down in Middlesbrough.
Oh, yeah, I know Gamebridge.
Yeah, it's cool there, isn't it? It's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so we went there and it was drunk students, and they had just as much fun with it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we're just thinking it would just be that game that you just want to play with your friends, like, or your family. And it kind of, I don't want to say that it's for everyone, because it feels like we've done no research. But so far it's been enjoyed by a wide range of people, so I don't want to pigeonhole it into a niche.
No, that's great. And you're saying, like, you're bringing it to these events. At what point do you feel, or what point did you feel that the game was ready to be shown and played by people? Did you have in mind that, like, the art needs to reach this level, or did you just grab what, the bare bones of what you had, the prototype you originally made, and just showed it off?
It's actually really, that's a super interesting question, because at the beginning, when we first made our original prototype, we focused more on the gameplay.
Right.
And the art was really not polished at all, because I thought people would judge a game based on how it played and not how it looked. But after working for a few months and realizing that people kept commenting on the art not being good, even though we said it wasn't finished. Yeah, honestly, this happened. So I decided for CakeBash that I'd focus on making one map really super polished right from the start.
Right.
And have, like, kind of I hate to use the word, but a sort of vertical slice of how the whole game would be.
Yeah.
And we took it to an event as soon as we could. I think we started working on April the 1st last year, and we took it to our first event on at the end of June.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
It was super fast. But I think it's useful to get eyes on it quickly and get opinions. And we changed the game massively from that first event, just from where people were getting stuck and where people were getting frustrated, and it was really useful.
No, that's awesome. And there's only 3 of you working on this, if I'm correct?
Yeah, we have a freelance audio team.
Okay, awesome.
Who've done some great music. You can check them out on Twitter, if I'm allowed to do another plug.
Oh, God, you are just pushing it. No,
They're
of course.
called RDWSmX.
Okay.
They've done some great music for us, so if you're looking for any cool freelance audio, well, don't take them now, because we need them now, but later.
Be considerate, people. Jesus.
Yes. Think of the cakes.
Think of the cakes. I would say, with that question then, when is it, are you allowed to tell when the release date of the game?
We're hoping that it would be out at the start of next year.
Okay, awesome. That's awesome.
I'm not going to say a month, because every time I say a month it moves, so...
That must be even more like a stranger experience as an indie dev, because you're seeing that, front line, and like I said, you have to decide to change that. I imagine that's a lot of pressure as well.
What, like, thinking about the release date and not disappointing people?
Yep.
Yeah, I think we've changed it twice already, but because it's not really that well known at the moment, I feel like we can get away with it. Like, if I was working on something like, I don't know, Cyberpunk 2077,
oh, God.
I think it would be a bit of a problem, but I think we can get away with it, so...
Yeah, no.
Perks of the job.
That is it. And, like, we spoke about this earlier, you now teamed up with CodeSync, and how has that been with working with a publisher and that?
Yeah, really different. So they've helped us financially for a start, which is really useful. Like I said before, we're doing a lot of contract work, and they've made it so that we don't need to, like, search for contracts anymore. Like, they pay us to keep making the game, which is really helpful. They're going to be helping us with marketing and QC, which is super useful in an online game.
Awesome.
And yeah, I think they're going to be helping us with because we weren't going to have online before, but now we are.
Oh, brilliant.
Because they're going to help us with that. So it just means that we can add more stuff.
Yeah.
Because we had quite a small scope before, but now that we have them supporting us, we can just add more things, and it can be just more replayable and hopefully more enjoyable for people.
No, that's fantastic, that one. That's great news, I think. And
yeah, it's good.
I was going to say, what made you choose or aim for more publishers instead of, trying more crowdfunding methods? Was there any choice on that?
We did discuss crowdfunding a few times, but it seemed like the current climate wasn't great for video games. It seems to be better for board games at the moment. I'm not sure. From research, we just thought that publishing was the right way to go. Maybe crowdfunding would be another option, but it's just, we didn't have the experience, I guess, to put together the page and to get the traffic. So we went with publishing this time.
Hey, it's worked, so that's the most important thing.
Yes.
With that. But we're going to wrap this up because it's getting late, and I'd rather you go home and chillax, and I got some food to make that isn't Ben & Jerry's for a change.
Good.
So,
I'm glad.
like I can make Ben & Jerry's, I wish. If I had the secret, oh my God.
You probably would have had a heart attack by now.
Hey, I would have gone out the way I wanted to go, man.
Yeah,
Eating
that's
ice
the best way.
But thank you very much for joining me and answering these questions, mate. Really appreciate it.
No, it's great. Anytime. Let me know if I can help out.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything that you want to do another plug or anything you want to mention before we wrap it up?
I think I've definitely had my fair share of plugs.
This is why I'm not inviting you back. 2 is too many, All right, well, if people want to reach out and contact you or know more about the game, where can they do so?
Twitter's probably the best place for us. We have a CakeBash specific Twitter page which you can follow, and we're also on Steam. If you wanted to drop us a wish list, that would be cool. But if not, then just watch out for us when we launch next year. If you give the game a try, that would mean so much to us.
Fantastic. I'll put a link for all that down below.
Cool.
So if
Thank
you can all, try it out. I do recommend it. Like I said, I've seen it and been paying attention to it, and it looks fan-dabby-dozy.
Fan-dabby-dozy.
I'm fed up for saying fantastic, cool and that, so I'm trying to spice up my vocab.
I see. Good one.
By making up words.
Awesome. Yeah, it was great chatting to you, Max. Thank you so much for having me on.
No worries, man. Anytime. Alright, if you guys do want to contact me for whatever reason, then you can do so on Twitter @MaxPairs or email in leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. And yeah, I will catch you all next time.